All right, you guys, you ready to get into some political vigilantism? Come on! You are all political vigilantes. I'm going to bring him back out here. Please welcome to the stage, Mike Schmidt, everybody! We're just going to set the stage real quick. Let's grab the chairs, Mike. And then, were you coming up to do magic? That was fantastic. All right, we'll grab some chairs and we'll set this up.
I gotta go back.
Yeah, sorry, you gotta back out. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Schmidt and a chair. Ladies and gentlemen, here comes Mike Schmidt and chair. Holy shit! Oh wow, he's gonna fight off the Lions of Seattle. All right. WWE there. WWE. All right, let me grab my stuff.
He's going to grab his stuff. I'm going to stand here with no purpose. Weird. It's weird. Probably should give me a script if I lie.
So, I am going to be, we're videotaping this whole thing, and I'm going to release clips of this on my YouTube channel, obviously. And if you are a $10 Patreon supporter, I will release the entire show. Woo! Mike, you going to sit down? Or you just going to... Okay,
you got to ask me to sit down.
Oh, Michael, please sit down. Thank you so much.
I turned the chair around because we're rapping. Just get to know one another, just talking back and forth. Nothing formal here, kids. We're all in this together.
You can use a microphone if you want.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, let's use that one.
I'm bad at stage.
What are you?
I'm very bad at stage.
We're not doing group therapy at a rehab center, Mike. You know, we can use some microphones.
This is not my Alateen meeting? That also does not work, I don't think.
Alateen.
I go to Alateen, I do. They understand me. Hi.
What do you go there, trolling for chicks? Is that why you go to Alateen?
Well,
easy.
They're already in trouble, so I get to reach out to them. I've lived a life, Graham. Don't kid yourself. Hey, did you have tots?
Yes.
They were badass,
One of the
weren't
most
they?
amazing tater tots I've ever had in my life. They were the most amazing tater tots.
Yeah, they were a message. They weren't tots, they were a statement. That's not an appetizer, that's a statement.
Yeah, it wasn't just the sauce, it was the tot itself.
Yeah.
Inside.
Yeah, it was like mashed potatoes.
Yeah, it wasn't frozen.
Right. My favorite part is that's the only thing on the menu that gets a credit like a movie. Everything else is like avocado bullshit, and then that is Kennebec potatoes as tater tots. Well then, what was the arduous audition process like? I feel bad for all the other potatoes who were not given a job. I almost said red delicious, and that's not a potato, that's an apple, goddammit.
We're in Washington, right? Everything's made from apples.
Now, is this
Mike
close?
stand?
Am I close? Should I be facing you? How does this work? I've never heard. And also, first, I mean, I probably don't need this. I know it looks dumb, but also, I can't hear me. Should this be up, or are we okay? You okay?
Yeah, I can fucking hear you.
Well, you're right there.
You're good.
All right.
I got you in my periph, too. Is that a thing, or should I focus? Should I be like right over your shoulder? How does this work? Like
talk faster.
You know me.
All right, so I wanted to talk about, we just had, obviously you guys, Washington just had your primary. Overall, how did you guys feel about the primary in your state? Yeah, it was a little wah-wah. But I want to go through, there was an article that was in the Intercept that was written by Ryan Grimm, Dave Dane, and Zaid Jalani, kind of going through a lot of the states' primaries that just happened. And there were actually some decent progressive victories, and I wanted to outline some of those. We'll talk about this a little bit. And then I want to go in and ask you guys. You guys can ask us any questions, and we'll get into it.
Now, I'm going to come at this as a neophyte. Please remember, I'm not skilled and genius like all of you in your politics. The Intercept, is this where I should be getting my news?
Yes.
Yes, it absolutely is. You should go there, Mike. You should go to truthdig.com.
I go to Axios. Is that a thing that I can be? I'm not joking. Axios, I follow on Twitter, and I'm told that they have news too. Not Axios? No. Okay. All right. I'm trying to find out. I'm learning. We're all learning.
Be gentle with them, guys. Be gentle with them. Oh, you okay?
Yes. Oh my goodness.
Is everyone all right?
I'm okay. I just didn't realize that there was a step here, and now I am incredibly embarrassed.
That's okay. Are you hurt? Do you need medical attention?
Are you okay? I'm fine. Yeah.
Do you need tater tots?
Yes.
It's so funny. I actually just asked for them to bring us some cheese and bread so we didn't snack on.
You know, if you didn't like Axios, you could have just said. I mean, you didn't
have to shove someone down.
She literally did a tuck and roll, come out of her chair, did a somersault. Are you okay? Really? That's a bad guy. No one likes that.
I'm absolutely okay. I'm just embarrassed.
That's okay. Don't be embarrassed. Wait, everybody falls.
Sorry to interrupt. No.
I believe it was REM who said everybody falls, if I remember correctly.
Your safety is more important.
This is is like a dinner party.
It is.
This is like a dinner party at my mom's house.
My favorite thing is nobody's listening to us at all.
At all. That was
They're tending to her,
fantastic.
there's paramedics. You and I are talking into space.
I remember my mom had a bunch. Used to always have cocktail parties at my house, and when I was in high school. And one time I came home from a high school party, and that was sort of tame. And then I come home and there's all these adults drunk, and a woman that worked for my mom was literally running to the bathroom and vomiting through her fingers.
Oh.
And I was like, wow, adults are a disaster.
Yeah. And look what happened. Look what they did to this planet.
And look, that's why I stopped drinking.
Yeah.
One day at a time, guys. Anyway, I'm gonna go. So I want to touch on some of the progressive Democrats that actually did win in other states. So I know there was, you know, a lot of people were talking about the gubernatorial candidate in Michigan, Abdul El-Sayed, and he was endorsed by Bernie, he was endorsed by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. He did not win.
Who's Bernie?
Bernie, don't worry about it, Mike.
Okay, I just wanted to
He's just a buddy of ours.
I'm
That's all.
learning.
Yeah, it's like Bill W.
Okay, friends of Burn W.
Yeah, Weekend at Bernie. He's a dead guy that we're trying to keep alive. Way too close to home.
It's a metaphor for this country, friend.
But so here's what happened. There was a lot of the endorsement of Abdul El-Sayed. What's happening, in my opinion, that is a good thing, is that these elections now, even these are little local elections in some cases that would not be getting all of this national attention. Nobody would be doing backflips that somebody won a seat in the Bronx. But we all are, because it's Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and she unseated a corporate Democrat, and she's a huge progressive. She's endorsed by, yeah, she's amazing. You know, she's openly calls herself a democratic socialist, which is a huge thing. That was, I remember in the 80s, you know, as a kid in the 70s and 80s during the Red Scare, where they were always trying to tie socialism with communism. They always said, when someone was like, well, we want socialized medicine, oh, then you're going to be waiting in bread lines like in fucking Moscow or whatever. They would always associate that.
Now that sounds like Bernie. Yeah, just the voice, the imitation.
Yes, exactly.
Look, so let me, can I jump in?
Sure.
Before the Red Scare and everything. Again, new. Alexandria
Ocasio-Cortez, yeah.
Okay. Are you just happy because she embodies some of the things you like? Or is she the real deal and someone you guys are behind because she can get it done?
Both.
You know what I mean?
It's everything she said. Yeah,
Okay.
she's the real deal.
Okay,
And she has her platform is like everything we're all down with. She's down with Medicare for all. She's down with free college tuition. She's down with cutting the war budget. She's a progressive. She didn't take any. Her average donation was $22. That's huge. She didn't take any corporate money at all. And there's a lot of fake progressive Democrats, and this is something I did a video on, you got to pay attention to. People like Kamala Harris are like, oh, I'm not going to take corporate money anymore either. But then, oh, this CEO from this giant company just made a personal donation of $10,000. Oh, he's not going to influence her decision making at all. And so what why she is the real deal is she's like, no, and it's all small donations. So when she won, of course she was attacked by like Fox News, like conservatives.
Sure.
But then Democrats came after her. This one Democrat, I forget her name, said, oh, well, that socialism might work in the Bronx, but it won't work in the Midwest. Yeah, because people in the Midwest love fucking, being upside down on their house and foreclosing. And
well, this is why I'm asking, because again, like I said, I don't know, so I hear the noise. I mean, I hear everything around it. So, Fox attacked her immediately when she won, and then and not attacked her in a way where she was dangerous. They tried to make her a goof, which is always their way to dismiss them right away, so then everybody else is comfortable attacking her because there's like, oh, she's a cartoon character, this isn't real.
Right.
And so they hold them up for ridicule rather than, because if you treat them like an enemy, then people go, well, maybe this person has something to offer, it might look deeper to them. But if you treat them like a fucking, a puff of smoke, everybody just goes, well, whatever, that'll dissipate, nobody cares.
Well, that's the tactic against a progressive, because you can never really attack a progressive's platform because the platform is populist. And the majority of the population, you can't say, oh, what do you want to give health care for everybody, you pussy? That's not going to work.
Yeah.
So you have to discredit them or smear them or make them seem ridiculous. Or like what they did with Bernie. They said, they got this phrase out there and they did such a good marketing job. Like my brother-in-law, a smart guy, liberal, you know, calls himself a liberal, college educated, repeated this thing in the car during the election of, well, single payer healthcare is pie in the sky. They got that as a marketing slogan that they fucking got out there so that the people who aren't paying deeply close attention, that are just on the surface, hear that. So that's what they do. So they either belittle, like she's like, oh, she's playing with her dolls and ha ha ha, that's so cute, you won that little thing in the Bronx. Like the Bronx is like fucking rural Iowa or something. Like it's the goddamn Bronx. It's bigger than the entire state of Wyoming. Like,
but then they'll also spin it because she's Puerto Rican, correct?
Sure.
And so then they'll go, well, yeah, obviously it's the Bronx. They would vote for somebody like that because it's just they look like that sort of thing. So these are the levels of attack that I always see, and so that's why I didn't know if she was someone that embodied the things that you guys believe in truthfully, or did she run on it because she was young and went, I see an opportunity? Because there's so much opportunism in politics that I see where people decide to hide behind something or go, well, that's a good idea, and then they run behind it, and then you look any deeper and you find out they really don't believe it. It's all horseshit to get an election.
Right, but that's a great example. So where did she, you know, she didn't come from, she's not like the CEO of like a pharmaceutical company that's like, I'm gonna run, and her strategy team went, hey, throw out some of these progressive buzzwords, you'll get these millennials to vote for you. She was like, this is bullshit. I'm seeing what's wrong. Crowley, who she ran against, she's like, I've lived in this guy's district. He's been voted for 10 years or whatever, and he's not helping us at all. And she worked on Bernie's campaign. I think that's sort of, for me,
But all these dudes like that Crowley dude, I saw them, all these dudes, they look like the guy who owned the ski lodge in every 80s teen comedy and tried to shut down the community center. Like all of these guys.
Yes, and that's why they're getting defeated, because everyone's waking up to their bullshit. Because he refused to debate her, and he finally did debate her, and she just called. You can't. What they're afraid of, and this is what the Democratic Party would rather lose to Republicans than let progressives take over, because you can't, when you're straight up and you're not full of shit, you can't beat that when you're a corrupt asshole. So they want like, you're corrupt and I'm corrupt, and we'll have this pro wrestling fight, our puppeteers will tell us who wins. Because if I'm too for real, and she destroyed him in the one debate he allowed to have. She was like, you don't even live in the Bronx. And he's like, well, you know, I mean, I have to own, you know, who's going to pay for my polo horses or whatever the fuck he said, you know.
That probably did not go over well in the Bronx, I'm not going to lie to you.
Polo horses don't feed themselves. I don't know what this hippie socialist...
Debate?
Pardon?
I thought he did not come to debate. He sent his chief of staff.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
He sent his surrogate.
He did not come to debate because he did not consider her worthy of debating.
There was a TV
So that was a
debate,
big part of...
There was a TV debate. But he got crushed.
He came to. Okay, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so he tried to avoid her. There finally was one, and then she fucking ate his lunch.
Okay.
She ate his fucking lunch, and the way she ate his lunch is because it's policy and it's platform. The Democrats love the identity politics. You know, they always it's great. She's young. She's a Latino. That's fantastic. But her platform, and this is what this article goes into. It's platform after platform after platform that is starting to win, that is starting to gain inroads, because everyone, I mean, even not the diehard Trumpers, the people who still think he's great, they're always going to think he's great. But the people who just like viewed him as the lesser of two evils. So that was 85% of the people that voted for either Trump or Hillary. You took all those voters, 85% of them said they did it as the lesser of two evils. They either thought Trump was way too evil or Hillary was way too evil. So some of those Trump supporters are starting to go, wait a minute, he's not draining the swamp, he's not giving me jobs, he's giving his billionaire buddies. They're starting to go, well, this is bullshit. The Democratic Socialists of America have opened up more memberships in like Texas, in like the reddest of states. There's real socialists, and I want to talk about that. So
also, really quick to your point, they did have a debate, but however, his chief of staff fell down after getting cheese and bread on the way to the stage, and it just went
nice. Way to go, Mike.
How long was I waiting for that, by the way?
Settle, guys. That's comedy. Somebody's got to get a pie in the face. It's going to happen. So, like, here's an example. So, in Kansas, the Democratic Socialist duo campaigned for Brett Wilder in Kansas City and James Thompson in Wichita. A poll released on the eve of the election showed Wilder held a double-digit lead, right? So this is the thing I'm talking about. So this is Kansas. This is a red state, and progressives are winning. This is the thing that why it's crumbling under both the Republican. So the Republicans want to tell their base socialism is just for hippies in the big city or whatever. It's just for people in Seattle and Portland and the Bronx and you decent down-home folks in the middle of the country, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, well, bullshit, I want a job. Socialism actually could help me. You shipped all my fucking jobs overseas. And then the same thing, the Democrats use the same thing of like, that won't work in middle America. They just assume middle America. I'm from middle America. I've traveled and performed all over middle America. Middle America is fucking starving for work. Middle America is, they're not getting all these tech jobs. And that's why when you run a bullshit campaign like Hillary did, then you allow a fucking lunatic demagogue like Trump to come to power. And that's why people are like, fuck this, with this centrism and this incremental fucking crap is not working. We have to hold firm with these progressive ideas. And that's what we're seeing literally happened Tuesday. Now it's not the some progressives are getting like bummed because we wanted it to be overwhelming. Well, we have to look at this, and this is the thing I talk a lot about on the show. Yes, it'd be great if we just, Congress and the Senate all became progressive, we had a progressive president. It's not going to happen that way. It's going to happen from the ground up. It's going to happen from people like getting your local student, your school board progressive. Getting your, if you live in a little city or whatever, your city council, there's 8 city council members and you get 5 of them to be progressive, that's what's going to do it. And these little victories, we have to grab a hold of them.
That's so difficult, though, for people to grasp. Because if you really look, I mean, it took, starting with Reagan, it took 38 years to get to Trump. So they've been working this long to destroy everything. And with the end result, a psychopathic businessman who's just a narcissist and ruining everything. So it has to go incrementally. And now we're in a society that has all the information in the world in their hand, and a society that wants everything instantly, news, everything, and so it's so difficult to get people to go, we need to start grassroots, we need to go from here.
But that's my point, though. It is starting to happen at a faster rate than you think.
Yeah.
Because of this. Because after the election, and I'm telling you, I don't like Trump at all. And when he won, I was like, what the fuck? But I look back now, and had Hillary won, we wouldn't have had the women's marches, we wouldn't have had people at town hall meetings, we wouldn't have all these progressives going, fuck this, right? Everyone on the left would have going, yay, more of this business. So I've seen more people get involved. Have you ever in your life, anybody's life, have you ever seen cabinet appointment town hall meetings, standing room only? I've never seen that in my life until after fucking Wingnut got elected. So maybe we needed things to get this bad. It's almost like an alcoholic. Like you gotta fall fucking face down drunk. If you never get fired and you never get a DUI, oh, you'll be fine. No, man, you gotta get fired. You gotta spend 60 days in jail and go, oh shit, and this is what we have. You got a joke
coming. I have to do. No, I just want to know what I have to do. So I have to spend 60 days in jail. Hold on. Is that part of the platform of the progressives?
Yeah, this is the platform of the progressives.
I just want to make sure I get
all alcoholics, get a sponsor.
I gotta get fired. I got that covered. I've done that several times.
You gotta get a face tattoo and then wake up and go, what the fuck was I thinking?
All right.
That's what Trump is. Trump is a face tattoo after a night of drinking. Oh shit. So I'll give you another example. So there was in St. Louis, Ocasio-Cortez campaigned hard for Cori Bush, a pastor, single mom, and nurse who challenged Lacey Clay Jr. The 1st Congressional District was previously represented by Clay's father. So that was a big thing. Then there was also what happened in St. Louis is a guy, they unseated the city attorney who basically did dick after Ferguson. Right? The guy that
I saw that.
Yeah,
they wound up getting rid of him.
They got rid of him. So I'm telling you.
And Ferguson was. I'm teasing. Yeah, I'm teasing. I know. I'm not that out of it. I promise.
So this is the thing that I'm making. There was another a great victory that happened. So and this is again part of the power. Look. Ocasio-Cortez is already now a national brand name power. She's endorsing people and they're winning. She also, when she got behind Bell, they helped defeat an anti-union piece of legislation. There was a GOP gamble that moving a ballot referendum on right-to-work laws from November to August would lower turnout and give them a victory. Those always work. That's why I'm a big proponent of open primaries, because the primaries have the lowest voter turnout, so that's where they win the elections. They know that if we get our person in the primary, then we got this. And that's why I'm in favor of, like, Washington, like California has top 2 voting. I like ranked choice voting. I'm a huge proponent of that. So here's what happened.
What is ranked choice voting?
So ranked choice voting is, I'll give you an example. So let's say this is the last presidential election. Instead of only voting for one candidate, you could say, I want Jill Stein to be my #1 candidate. I want Gary Johnson to be #2, Hillary to be #3, and Trump #4. And so they're
do they do that anywhere?
Oh yeah, they do it in Maine. They do it in a bunch of states. They do it all over Europe. That's the thing. America, we act like we're the least progressive of anything, like of any industrialized nation. Bernie Sanders is a fucking centrist in Europe. He's a centrist in Europe. Nowhere else is anyone like, wow, free healthcare? That sounds like a pony. That's Hillary Clinton referred to that as pony. So it's out there, it's being done, and it works. It worked so Maine passed ranked choice voting, and they had these amazing results. And I'm a huge proponent of that. So anytime...
Well, don't they still have, like, that banana head governor? Like, who's that idiot, right?
The banana head governor?
From Maine, like Lepage, whatever, I forget his name. He's a terrible guy. I would rank him at the bottom of my rank choices, I can tell you that, folks.
There you go, Mike. You get to vote him out of there.
Hey, let me ask you this really quick, and you can get to your notes. Am I slowing things down by asking questions? Because I don't know. So if I am, please tell me.
It's good.
Because I don't, rank choice, literally had no idea. Like, that's cool. That's like a cool-ass political fantasy draft. You can rank your top 5 dudes.
That's what it should be.
Yeah.
In Canada...
Or ladies.
In Canada, you know, they have televised debates with 4 and 5 candidates running for prime minister. Like, that's what imagine if the past presidential election had Trump, Clinton, Gary Johnson, and Jill Stein all on national TV in front of 50 million people. Imagine what that debate, instead of talking about fucking pussy grabbing and all this other ridiculous distracting bullshit, we could have people actually having national discussions and debates, because they want us distracted, they want us fighting over this handful of bullshit issues, because if we all get together, they want us red state, blue state, they want that, because if we all get together and go, hey, wait, the 1% is fucking us at every goddamn turn, whether we live in Seattle or Oklahoma or fucking the Bronx or Miami, it doesn't fucking matter.
So, all right, if you had a debate that was open to that many people, doesn't it just open it up? Because again, let's open this up. The media is such a problem, in my opinion.
Yes.
I think,
that's why I'm doing this show.
But I'm saying they're all, it's all ratings, it's all the same, and I hold them partially responsible for what's happening now, because they loved the show, they loved the ratings, and they continuously gave him...
They gave him $5 billion in free advertising.
Of course.
They cut away from Bernie Sanders giving a speech to an empty fucking podium where Trump was going to speak. They are culpable. They are part of the problem.
I agree with you. So, but if you had, we've got to start there. You've got to train. Well, if you had a debate with all 4 candidates, do they get to marginalize Jill Stein and then talk to the, you know what I mean, talk about Trump because he sucks all the air out of the room? How do we police this? How do we change? And I'm not asking you to solve the world. Like I said,
I will.
All right. But I'm disillusioned when I see these things, because I didn't, truthfully, here's how I felt about the Republican debates, because they let, Trump talk about how his dick was big, and everybody's like, whatever, and because he was playing a completely different game. Everybody else is going, point of parliamentary procedure, Mr. Trump, and he's like, blah, blah, fuck you. You know what I mean? Like, he was terrible. But he was the best character in that show. And I also believe, when he said, what's his name's wife was ugly, and the other one's killed Kennedy, Cruz, and little Marco, all that horseshit was all we heard about. And I firmly believe, because Trump is clearly a bully and a classic bully. And I really believe this could have been stopped if in the middle of a debate, if one of them, because there were 8 dudes on stage with them at one point, if Marco Rubio had taken it upon himself to literally walk from his podium to Trump's podium and body that motherfucker. And I mean, because everybody thinks he's tough. Everybody, that's the thing I always hear all the time. He's tough, he's strong. They always draw him with muscles. He's a fucking lump. So if fucking Rubio would have literally gotten his face and said, did you say something to me? Did you say something about my wife? And Trump, you would have seen, and literally pushed him to the ground. Just schoolyard. Pushed him down. And to see him cower and back away, you'd break the hold on every hillbilly in this fucking country. I'm serious. You have to stand up to somebody like that. You can't let him push you around, because again, it's just the chess club talking to the homecoming king on that stage. He's clearly the homecoming king. And so they all acted like passive nerds and tried to get back to and you can't do that anymore. And so I ask you, are we in this bare-knuckle world where you have to do that sort of thing? Can progressives win with policy alone, or do they have to be aggressive and act up and things like that?
Who thought that this old Jewish hippie from Vermont was going to win? No one. He went around for a year and a half and said, somebody run against Hillary. So I'm too old, I'm a crazy hippie up in Vermont, somebody run against her, somebody run against her. The Democratic Party said, no, we're going to put all these fucking deadweight, no-name, milquetoast motherfuckers against her. And he said, fine, I will. And he rallied. But the Democratic Party put the superdelegates in place back in the 70s because they can't have progressives take over their fucking party anymore. So there aren't simple, quick fixes to what you're talking about. But I believe we need, and that's why these progressives are winning, because they're not backing down. They're not doing that classic Democratic thing of, well, I'm gonna say these handful of token gestures to my base, and then take money from big pharma and take money from the oil companies. And so I think you're starting to get these candidates going, fuck this. But
will they say fuck this? Will they, like, I mean, I see a Chuck Schumer, and he comes out and he'll have...
Chuck Schumer has taken more money from Goldman Sachs than anyone else, so that's part of the problem right there.
But they'll have some pithy line, and then they approve Kavanaugh for the Supreme Court. And you're like, what is going on? What the fuck? You want to shake people by their lapels. Why?
Mike, that's why I am so adamant about, I am not going to just vote for some blue to get to... A friend of mine goes, we got to take back House. We got to take back the Senate. I go, with what? Most like fucking Chuck Schumer? Or Joe Manchin or Heidi Heitkamp, who are Democrats who fucking sell out our progressive ideals? This is what I'm talking about. The answer to your question is what I'm already saying, which is people are going, nope. Ocasio-Cortez is going, nah, and they try to fucking bullshit and soundbite her. She's like, nope, and she's already got people on the internet, all of us, who have checked out. I canceled my fucking cable years ago. All of us have checked out from the mainstream media, and more people in cable knows this. People are cutting their cable in record fucking numbers. So it's happening. It's not happening as quickly and as fast as we would like, but it is happening, and that's what I believe, is that we'll see what happens in November. Because if it's more just centrist corporate Democrats, some of them winning, going, yay, we unseated the Reds, there's going to be, or there needs to be, a formation of a real third party. Yeah. Like an actual viable, or as Jimmy Dore calls it, an actual second party, since the two parties are the same. So that's what I think. I don't want to keep going around and around on this, because I want to move on.
I didn't mean to do that. I apologize. I'm interested. They talk about there's a blue wave, and then when that happens, they possibly will impeach Trump. And I laugh, because all they're telling you is what television show will be on the fall docket. Because they want to impeach him, so they can have cameras all day long, 24 hours, showing you every fucking moment of that it's another show. They're scheduling another show starring him.
I'd watch it.
We all would, of course. And we'd all root for the ending to be the ending we wanted to, but I'm afraid we're going to get the ending of Lost.
Well, I'm afraid we're going to get the ending of Mike Pence, and then all these half the people on the left who are all like, resist, will go, oh, we got the bad guy, we're all good. Now Mike Pence, all of his tweets will be nice and polite. He won't say anything offensive. Meanwhile, he'll be shocking the gay out of people in the fucking White House, whatever that evangelical wingbird will be goddamn doing with his... But that's the thing. That's why I think we sort of needed Trump. We needed to see the most vulgar, ugly version of what our fucking failed political system is. We needed a guy that's just so horrible. I mean, all of his tweets were polite, he was classy, he was presidential. Meanwhile, 5.2 million people lost their homes. He deported 2 million people. He drone strike the fuck out of the Middle East. He created the humanitarian crisis that is 120 kids dying every day in Yemen. He did that. And he did that presidentially, and he did that with Goldman Sachs and his fucking cabinet. Goldman Sachs has been in every presidential cabinet since Reagan. So, in some ways, I hate Trump, he's scary, and if he did get impeached, part of me would be like, yeah, suck it, we beat him, and then you'll always go down as the fucking mope that got impeached. You weren't the best. No, you got impeached. But right behind him, the Republican Party picked Mike Pence.
Of course.
And the evangelicals are scary.
Well, I thought Trump would maybe do it for a year and then go, you know what, I'm going to bail, and then turn it all over, the whole thing over. Because I think he had that much vanity where I thought he'd go, he just wanted to win because he didn't think he would, and then when he won, he'd just be like, I'm bored with this already. But I think that he realized he had a huge new toy to play with, and he gets to be a fuckhead on a national level.
Well, I was hoping he was going to stick to his anti-interventionalist platform from his campaign, and the deep state was going to go, you're gone.
Well, I was hoping, like, because it was that thing where you have this weird thing where you're like, what if he actually kind of cares at some point, and he does have an infrastructure plan that actually fixes, you know what I mean? But then you're like, no, of course not. But you
again, to the alcoholic analogy, it's like, hey, they've been sober for 3 weeks. It's all changed, and then shut up, clack. Go to bed, Graham. Whoops, my childhood. Anyway.